Hey everyone, Dave here, December 1773. With me as always is Ryan. This is episode 115 of The Weekly Show, all of the week's hottest topics with a twist. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on all the major platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, especially Rumble. Rumble is the free speech alternative to YouTube. Two things I want to open with before we get into some Russia talk. Das Padania. Thing one, Ryan, I believe it's your birthday.
Thank you, David.
For your birthday, the Bills kicked ass.
Go Bills.
Also, for your birthday, you have a face tattoo. This
Fresh out the sticker factory.
The second thing I want to get into, you know I'm a documentary fan. I usually like documentaries that are like...
Murder?
Yeah, murder and like live action and stuff. I don't usually like the recreations. Although, I want to say the Dahmer documentary. I know it's very popular. Ryan Murphy, the guy from American Horror Story, and Evan Peters, also mostly known from American Horror Story, did excellent with Dahmer so far. I haven't finished it yet. But I did find... I think there was some editing done. A lot of heavy editing done. And he talked about the Exorcist 3. That was the movie he wanted to sit down and watch with the gentleman. But I found the original, and I think we should play it real quick.
What are we gonna do? Told you. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna watch a movie. Take some pictures. And I'll pay you.
Well, that seems like an overreaction.
I didn't know that's what gay sex was nowadays.
I didn't think our show was that bad, honestly. That guy was really trying to get out of there.
It's got to be all that Russian misinformation, David.
I believe that's a young Don Lemon. So we've talked about Russia and Ukraine a little bit, but we've never gotten really into it. And it seems like it's escalating a lot. Like, it seems like things are getting pretty bad over there, and I feel like we're making things worse.
How's that, David, with billions in funding?
Well, let's get into a little bit of the, let's say, 104-year history of Russia-Ukraine. I went back a little bit of time. It starts in 1918, in my opinion. Now, I know what everyone's thinking. That's a while ago. Everyone thinks it's 2014. It's been going on a while. Probably before this, honestly. In 1918, Ukraine declares their independence. They become a free nation. Now, the Russians, who aren't Russian at that point, are not fans of this. Stalin kills a bunch of them with communism. But don't worry, it wasn't real communism. Real communism, remember, has never been tried.
It was just the starving communism?
Yeah, it was the kind of communism that we usually see, but it's not the real communism. Nonetheless.
Could you imagine real commies if those are just like fake commies?
Yeah, those are the poser commies like Stalin. Did kill a lot of them, with his horrible ideas on farming. Turns out Stalin, worse farmer than Bill Gates. Then the Soviet Union takes over a bunch of land. This is in the 30s and 40s. And they use the Ukrainian land that they have taken over to house Nazis. But remember, there's no more Nazis there anymore. This was a long time ago. Nazis totally don't exist in the Ukraine, YouTube. It seems bad. I can see why tensions would get high. Then, the Soviet Union was terminated through a treaty, and Ukraine regained its independence. So things are looking up for the Ukraine.
Is that before or after they became part of Eastern Europe, David?
We got to remember that Ukrainians are actually split on this.
Yeah. They should be.
There are
It's
a lot
like,
of Ukrainians who don't want to be part of Europe.
yeah, I wonder why.
So then, in 1994, the Budapest Memorandum, which gave Ukraine. So this is as Trump would say, this is the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever. Ukraine says we'll give up nuclear arms as long as you promise not to attack us.
It's never happened before.
It seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a gun-free zone, is what it is. Sounds like a horrible idea. Then,
Question, David.
yes,
Hold on. Sorry.
yes.
Do you think if they have nuclear weapons currently, Russia would be attacking them?
Well, according to Russia, which I had a conversation about this. According to Russia, I'm assuming that's who it's according to. They have more nuclear arms than anybody in the world. Is this not what we're told? It's not like this is getting audited, right? Is there a third-party nuclear arms guy who just goes around country to country counting everybody's nuclear arms?
Well, I'm sure Facebook has yet to open that division, David, but that's a great idea. Maybe they should get involved in the fact checking of political leaders from other parties, of other nations, and fact check their statements against their own internal records. Just instead of what they just do now, which is just one side of a very small political aisle.
Do you? I mean, do you suspect actually has as many nuclear arms as it says it has? I think, what do they say they have?
I think they have more than what they say, just like we do.
More.
Yeah. I think honestly, any official military number you see is a lie. Like honestly, let's be honest.
Why would you tell them you have any?
Exactly. Well, you can't.
Well, I see why you would tell them you have some for defense purposes. You could say, "Well, don't touch us. We have nukes." Well, I get that.
Other people have satellites. Like it's not like we can just say that we only have fucking 7 helicopter pads when there's 700 all over, North America. They can just buzz an airplane over America. There's, we don't own all the air above America, and they have highs. It's one of the reasons why we put Sputnik up in the air, as the Russians did It's one of the reasons why we started chasing the space rates is after they did Sputnik, we couldn't just have them potentially spy on America, and as of late, we've seen the space thing with the Space Force with China and stuff, mining shit on the opposite side of the moon, which I don't necessarily believe. Well, back at this whole thing, I don't necessarily believe what the Russian Chinese say is correct, but about their military, I don't think they would lie necessarily, but I don't also think that they would tell the truth. So, I don't know. This is what makes it so difficult trying to break these things down, especially, David, you're on 100-year history when the Earth is really
billions of years old.
Yeah. The battle we're talking is at least 10 times that, we're talking 1,000-year history, right? And so to just even try to simplify it on a 5-minute talking point on the news, and then it's crazy how fast they open billions of dollars to these people.
Yeah, absolutely. But that gets us to 2014, and that's when people think this really heats up. And Ukrainians overthrow a pro-Russia president, and then Russia responds by taking Crimea over. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was in 14.
Is this Bush's fault as well?
No, probably. I mean, it was during the Obama administration, so yes, but this was Bush's fault. Yes, threat of nukes would have been real handy in 2014. Then Russia, Ukraine, France, and maybe Germany, they all signed this peace treaty because they've worked so well in the past. April of 19. This is when it gets real nifty. Biden is now out of office. Trump, of course, who is a Russian collusionist, is out of office. And that's when the shit hits the fan with Russia, which would make sense, of course. Russia would wait until somebody not friendly to Russia takes office, of course. And Ukraine elects their current president, actor, stand-up comedian, and friend of the Bidens, unrelated, of course, to the Biden presidency, I'm sure, with a promise that he's going to bring independence to Ukraine again. That kind of sets the stage for where we are today, and this is where we are today.
At a fundraiser here in New York, this is what he said. He said, for the first time since the Cuban Missile Crisis, we have the threat of a nuclear weapon if, in fact, things continue down the path they are going.
Well, that sounds bad. It's interesting to note that Biden says these things as if he's not in power. Like he has no say.
Thank you, David. I was just going to ask, how is the president going to say this and then act like, are they blaming, I'm not being trying to be about, are they blaming Trump for this too? Is this a pandemic problem? Is this the coronavirus problem? Is this unemployment problem? Making 700,000 factory jobs in 1 month, most ever, apparently. Fucking lying. I mean, this guy doesn't have to take any accountability for anything. And then he could just give, and for all we know, this is a fucking lie. Could be a lie. We don't know this. Is the United States fighting the war in Ukraine or not?
Oh, no. Well, it turns out we're not technically. We are funding it. We're giving them arms. But we're not involved. We're hands off.
How's there a threat for nuclear war then? How's there a threat for nuclear war if it's just Russia and Ukraine? Oh, that's right, because you're trying to push them. They're signing NATO documents to become part of all the other Western governments that Russia hates when they're talking about demonic purposes and cutting off.
Well, interestingly, it's interesting you bring up NATO because that was one thing Putin said was an absolute line in the sand, was Ukraine joining NATO. And Ukraine has, they've officially applied to join NATO. So that seems like, is it worth it?
I don't know, David. Do you think President Biden called the president of Ukraine up and said, if I give you $700 billion, would you sign the pact to join NATO at an expeditious rate? Because I think it did. I mean, what's going to get ink to dry faster than $1 trillion? I'll wait.
I'm sure. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what we get out of Ukraine signing in for NATO. I don't think we get anything positive out of it. They're going to be like the other nations that are in NATO and, not pay what they're supposed to pay to be in NATO. And then it's just going to be us using our military.
Isn't this what we want? Right. This is what's so funny, right? When you break down, like, what did they say about Iraq after? Right. At first, everybody was on board with the war in Iraq because of 9/11.
For obvious reasons. Yeah.
Yes. Grant.
Yeah.
But then as it started coming apart, kind of like the cough that we're not supposed to talk about on the internet. Like when things started coming apart, they just were able to get authoritarian with it this time. But like as it came out, it was all like, oh, these manufacturing contracts and all these weapon companies like Halliburton and fucking Clearwater, Blackwater, whatever, right? Like all these different companies. It's all we ever hear. We still fucking hear about it. Because then they trickle down into police stations and they buy them weapons of war on our streets, Mr. Obama. But it's Biden. It's something that you always hear is that these big these companies that make weapons of war promote war. But how is this not the same thing? We're not expecting that. Is it because of Democrats in power? And is it because it could possibly be an invested interest with the president that is in power with some of the things that him and his son and some other people that they may or may have not had affiliations with sit on certain boards and certain companies that sit in certain places in certain countries?
Yes, and good choice of words with may or may not have, because of course on YouTube we got to be careful that they're not pushing Russian disinformation like the Hunter Biden laptop story.
It's just alleged, David.
Yeah. The New York Times came out 2 years after and admitted was true. Don't worry, it was well after the election, so we don't have to worry about election interference.
January 6th, the committee on January 6th has zero long-term implications on the 2024 election or the midterms in 2022. Just remember that, David.
Yeah, of course. That goes without saying, I believe. That brings me...
Hey, did they raid Biden's mansion yet or no?
No, there's nothing to see there. Speaking of NATO and things that could further set off this Russian confrontation, let's call it conflict. Poland? Did you see Poland asked NATO for nukes for their border? Does that seem like a bad idea to anyone else, or just me?
I have a question, David. Do you know your geography?
Yes.
What side of Poland is on? What's on the east side of Poland? What country?
The east side of Poland?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it Germany?
It's Ukraine.
Oh, Ukraine's east of Poland.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Poland, Ukraine, Russia. Right? I mean, I did it backwards.
Oh, I was thinking west.
Yeah, yeah. West is definitely heading that way. But what's
Yeah,
important?
never mind.
What's
I had the wrong
important?
direction.
What's important to know is they don't need a border from their west protected. They need their border from their east protected from fucking Russia and Ukraine, which would, to me, I'm not a military person, but I would assume that thinks that Poland cannot hold the line. Like Ukraine is going to be evaporated. Joe Nowicki, friend of the show, friend of Dave and I's, longtime listener, longtime friend of ours. He actually reached out to me and had
Did
a
I
very
bleep out that name?
maybe just the last name. I mean, fuck it. I'll probably get sniped on air one of these years. But Joe Nowicki reached out to me and
that's two. Two I gotta do now.
Sorry, Joe. He reached out to me and he said it would be a perfect playground for nuclear weapons in Ukraine. You know, just say that everything's fucked and we just gotta open up the war chest and we have to do whatever we have to do that is necessary to stop the Russians, or in their case, it would be whatever to stop the West, right? So this is just
like
this is
blow
based,
up big massive bridges.
yeah, on Putin's birthday. It was his birthday, unless he has a fake birthday, which I would imagine as a spy you would have a fake birthday. I'm just throwing that out there.
His name's probably not even Putin. Damn KGB members.
Yeah, it's Putania. But the whole thing resides. It just seems like to me that the escalation, saying it's design might put it simply, but this has obviously been a thing that we have been seeing for a while. David, obviously, you brought up since 2014, you believe.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, this has always been the big thing. This is why a lot of people believe we should stay the fuck out of it to begin with, because it's been going on for like literally longer than we've had written history of that side of the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like literally
and there's so much more to it, obviously, than we've talked about. I mean, there was the Ukrainians recently came out and did they admit, or was it found that they did in fact assassinate like a Russian friendly's, I don't know if it was a failed assassination attempt. They killed his daughter in a car bomb, or if it was like meant for him. I don't know, but that came out as true. You know, we got Nord Stream blowing up, which, you know, who knows how that happened. I'm sure just naturally on its own. The bridge exploded, you know, just as bridges do. I'm sure Biden was probably going there to talk about infrastructure.
Still, if you had to hear about that fucking bridge, brother.
You know how bridges just explode.
Explode all the time and we forget about them. Yeah, and then let's not forget that there has been, let's not exaggerate, I think the number is almost 100, but there has been dozens of high-profile executives of Russian businesses jumping to their deaths. That's a fine way to say self-deleting. Like,
yeah, I think those, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, falling to their death. You mean S side? You know what I mean? Like,
well, maybe he was made out of their window, their very tall window.
Just a bunch of high-profile CEOs. I'm sure they weren't worried about what was to come, or maybe they were trying to, like, I don't know, being forced to sell everything. You know, I'm sure a couple of people had photographs of their wives at their current location. Be like, you know, if you don't sign this sheet of paper, like a fucking movie. Why would I believe that the stuff that happens in the movies doesn't happen in real life?
See what they really need to do. The book from China, put the old nets up on the outside of the windows, and then you don't have to worry about it. Those pesky slip and fall cases.
Yo, you know, that's actually like a good loophole. Imagine your union, like the people unionize, be like, we want to save our working conditions. Be like, fine, just put a fucking trampoline at the bottom when you jump off the building.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, trampolines work. You totally won't go through it. You'll just bounce back up to the window. It's science. I can't help but think, even when Obama was in office, it seemed like the Russian thing was getting worse progressively, but not certainly to this level. And now that, you know, Biden, as you put it, you know, the Biden-Harris Obama administration, now that they're in office, it seems like it's gotten a lot worse. And I have to think it's related.
Obama just getting high fives at the fucking White House.
I have to think it's related to this man. I don't know if you saw this. This is Biden's latest, just glorious. He is the gift that keeps on giving.
The trip was not essentially for oil. The trip was about the Middle East and about Israel.
It's not important what he says. It's just hilarious how he leaves the interview, if you want to call it that. He just awkwardly backs away. Where is he going? What the fuck was that?
That was the live Homer Simpson meme when he slips into the bush.
I got to be honest. This, for whatever reason, when I first saw that, I had to recreate what my mind saw. My mind, for whatever reason, this is where my mind went to.
The trip was not essentially for oil. The trip was about the Middle East and about Israel and rationalization of positions. But it is a disappointment, and it says that there are problems. Are you worried about
I don't know why, but that is exactly where my head went to. It's just an awkward man sadly walking away.
Are we going to have the first president to die in office while serving?
You mean from natural causes?
Holy fuck, dude. It's like not, could you imagine if Trump tried fucking backing out of an interview like that? I mean, then again, George Bush was just drilling golf balls and talking about murdering terrorists.
So obviously, yes. If Trump did something like that, the media would just be all over him. But it's not in his personality type to do something like that, because he's a very aggressive man.
Oh, you mean Trump to just like?
There's no way he'd be backing away from the media. You get out of my way. You're fake news. I got somewhere to be. I'm heading in your direction. You better move. Biden's just like, I don't know how to get out of this. I'm just gonna walk backwards. Weird.
This would be like if your 5-year-old was in charge of its classroom. When they realize they have too much power and not enough authority or experience to run the room. Yeah, I don't know how to answer these questions, so I'm just gonna back away slowly.
Right, I'm gonna give you the option. I gave you the option last week too. I kind of like giving the option. We could talk Kanye, which I'm all for.
I think we do Kanye.
We can. You didn't even hear the other options yet.
I don't need to. I already picked it.
Musk and Twitter will bring up. It's really nothing much. But I did find a funny headline, and we haven't done headlines in a while. It's a funny headline, and I just want to get your reaction to it. Kanye?
We'll do the funny headline.
Funny. Oh, okay. All right.
Hey. Ryan's choice.
People, I saw this article in the comments below it were just women losing their minds.
Oh, these are my favorite. These are my favorite.
Man refuses to fund vacation with pregnant wife because she won't allow him to drink alcohol. Women on that comment section were losing their minds.
God forbid we initiate a standard or a preference, right? She probably didn't want to drive.
I don't know. I don't know the stipulations to it.
I wonder if that's even his kid. She probably fucked around on him and got knocked up by somebody else.
I just thought it was funny that all the women are like, well, he's not in control of her. It's like, no, I suppose he's not in actual control of her, but, he's paying for the vacation. Who is she to... And speaking of, why is it not her control when she's telling him he can't drink?
Women are controlling, David. They never do anything wrong.
Isn't that control? It's the same thing. He's just saying, I won't pay for it because you won't let me drink.
Dave, you're speaking rational about females, which are illogical beings by nature. That's why they don't consider it controlling when they tell you what to do. It's just the standard. Be like, well, my guy doesn't have multiple girlfriends, or talk to girls, or whatever the fuck bullshit it is, right? That's just the easy one.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you say, well, my girlfriend doesn't have guy friends, I've known him forever, be like, and he still wants to get in your pants. So
just for a little bit longer than somebody else has.
Yeah, instead of like 15 years, it's just been 30 years. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Nothing's changed here. And they know it. They're just not going to admit it because then they would. Here's the thing. If women just acknowledge that there's a game, they would have to admit that they have been complacent in playing it the entire time without letting men in on the secrets. Because then, if they start letting guys in on the secrets, it would then come out that women have literally been controlling men for the dawn of time. Because they've had all the secrets, because women pick mates to reproduce with. Women have shaped men in evolution, and it's no difference, and that's why it all comes around. I know it sounds all silly, but it's the same shit when it comes back to these girls having control over their man on effing vacation. I can't drink. What? You can't drink either. Why can't you? We're on vacation. What, because she was probably jealous because she can't drink.
Probably.
You did this to me and you should be sober too, or whatever. Yeah, I did it to you, but your legs were wide open. Maybe, or that was just one of those instances, Dave, of the R or the I, and they should be able to go get one of those vacuum cleaners for certain situations.
Correct. I've been seeing a lot of commercials about this.
Yeah, during football games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy. These women's they're gonna murder babies into non-existence, and then when they're all 35-year-old dried up women that have cervical cancer from getting sucked out after all their college boyfriends ran trains on them, they're not going to be able to get any decent guy, and then like the human race will die out and have to be replaced by a fucking Chinese guy that sits at 5'1" and can't even speak English. We're gonna have to speak in fucking emojicon to these people that are gonna replace us.
Luckily, Ryan, that can't happen because Chinese people, or at least the Chinese government, doesn't want Chinese women. I think they've changed that, though. I think they've changed that since. They might allow one every once in a while.
Yeah, David, that's because if everybody only had dudes, and then they're going to literally have no population to reproduce, to replace the people. That's the population reminiscent of us now.
Yeah,
Most people only have one kid now, 2 kids now instead of.
China's a big time sausage fest. Well, according to stereotypes.
All the things still remain.
Little Smokies. Kanye West. Kanye West is in trouble with everybody. Do you want to take this one, Ryan? Kanye West is in trouble, my understanding, for many reasons. One, he's not a slave to Democrats. So that's a problem. Secondly, he said Jesus was Jewish, which is the correct statement. So that was a problem.
That was the anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Jesus was a Jew.
Yeah, David. That's correct. Yeah.
Has nobody do we have journalists that have not taken fucking religion classes? Dave.
Yeah, but it's anti-Semitic to say that he was a Jew. I think because he said the word Jew, maybe? I don't know. Can you not say Jew? Should we not be saying Jew right now?
What's a Hebrew, David?
Can I say Jew because my sister's Jewish?
Dave, what's a Hebrew? An Israeli Jew, right? Hebrew, Israeli Jew.
I don't know if we're supposed to be saying this now. Is Jew
Jesus was white. This is something else my sister and I talked about.
Is Jew like the N-word, Ryan?
I guess so. They're white, though. It's not... like
well, they're Jew.
No, they're white. They're white people. Well, they're Caucasians.
Some of them.
No, they're
Drake's half white.
I'm just saying, these people born in that area, Middle Eastern people, are actually Caucasians.
You got road rage out there. It's probably the FBI coming for you because you said Jew too many times.
They're actually Caucasians. Now, granted, the pictures you see of Jesus in Western churches where he's got pale skin like me and David, that may not necessarily be true, but they were white people. This is what's so crazy about this. Like, this is literally our people. Like, we could say anything we want about Jewish people in essence because they are Caucasian. Not saying that you can't be Jewish, like practice Judaism and not be Caucasian, but ethnic Jew people are Caucasian people. I mean, they call them fucking ethnically Jew, but that's a stem of the Caucasian genetics of human beings. This is crazy. I didn't honestly, all I know is Kanye got suspended from Twitter. I seen him have a picture of Candace Owens and him, and they were standing next to each other. It almost looked like they were like interlocking arms. And he had a White Lives Matter shirt on, which of course is racist and homophobic. So, you know,
Honestly, that's
I knew naturally stuff would come from this, but I didn't expect a Twitter ban. And I also didn't know that he just said that Jesus was a Jew, which is this is so dumb.
honestly
This
Kanye
is so
took it
dumb.
farther than I do. White Lives Matter is. I wouldn't even say that.
Found himself in hot water following his controversial Paris Fashion Week show where he showcased White Lives Matter shirts before making a swipe at the Jewish community.
Making a swipe.
Like a left or right swipe. Oh, in a tweet that has been removed by the social media giant, Kanye wrote, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going to DEF CON 3 on Jewish people."
So that's a Twitter ban.
DEF CON 3 is what, like,
So that's why he got banned from Twitter. I didn't even realize he was banned from Twitter. I saw a Meta thing. Instagram took a post down because he said Jesus was a Jew.
he added, the funny thing is I can't actually be anti-Semitic because black people are Jewish too also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who oppresses your agenda. DEFCON, also known as Defense Readiness Condition, is an alert used by the U.S. Armed Forces to indict how quickly a military can be deployed during the deadly emergencies and attacks. He renewed his attack on Jewish people, comes just days after shared screenshots on Instagram revealing messages sent to Diddy in which West accused the rapper of being controlled by Jewish people trying to silence his White Lives Matter message. Here's the thing. He's right. The Jewish people are the fucking Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Okay? Those are like two names that are like buzzwords in the conspiracy world, but
yeah, but what about the Rothbards?
The point still remains is these are old ethnically Jewish people families. You know, I actually found out something from a Jew I know personally. He said, "Do you know what like people hated the Jews?" And like the whole joke about the Jews is right with how they pinch a penny and they're basically like they run all the banks. The reason Jewish people run all the banks and stuff is because they weren't allowed to own land. So with the Jewish people, this was like thousands of years ago, like Jesus time stuff, probably before that. So instead of what they did of buying land, since they couldn't buy it, they pooled all their money together and then they would lend their money to the people so then they could do whatever and charge interest. They basically set up the fundamentals for modern day banking, which was later exploded during mercantilism in the Renaissance, Italy, and Europe at that time in the 14th and 1500s. But just very interesting. But what he's talking about, he's technically right. I think he just simplifies it to Jewish because one, it's funny, and two, Twitter. There's only so many characters, but I also think he does it for the shock value, which Kanye is obviously known for. That's why he's wearing a White Lives Matter shirt at a fucking fashion show. This is very reminiscent of Melania Trump, right? Like, does it fucking matter or do you fucking care? Or whatever that shirt says, right? Like that's the same political statement is now, Funny thing is, he renews attack on Judah. The post resulted in his Instagram account being restricted, but it led to various torment and abuse targeting Jewish stars who condemned the rapper. How do we even know that's true when there's bots on the internet? These attacks could just be orchestrated, and then they write newspapers about it to make you think that this thing is really happening when it could just be bots. So therefore, it's not even real. It's also orchestrated. This is what I think a lot of this internet shit is just bots and the rotation of bots. There's like insane numbers out there about how many things are done by bots on the internet. It's like most of the shit on the internet is done by other computers. So I don't even buy into this social media thing. And I think it's worth mentioning here that we can't trust these people in general, but
no. And the bots thing was a big deterrent for Elon for buying Twitter. And I don't know what ended up happening with that other than the fact that it came out that Elon was still buying Twitter. And I think at the originally agreed upon amount, so I'm not sure what really took place there. I don't know if you know more about that. It doesn't seem like a lot came out yet.
No, and it's it's kind of, you know what I think it is, David, because I just run in this mindset all the time. Is I just think they're waiting to report on the actual facts until after the Russia January 6th and the midterms are over, or get closer to midterms, because Twitter is going to be used in the midterms. So
And midterms are pretty close.
yeah, I mean, we're talking gas prices, inflation, economy, job numbers. You're seeing the bloated job numbers now. I'm sure the government's going to come out and say inflation's at an all-time low for the last 90 days or some other bullshit to lie about how bad they are in terms of, like, I don't know, something longer than a year at a time, which I actually have something I want to get to about that, about time warping. Um, but yeah, we're seeing it like this. It's there, David. I wouldn't doubt if they have all that information, because I'm sure there's plenty of people familiar with the matter out there. They just haven't hit print on their fucking email yet, you know, about like all these inside leaks and all the drama inside Twitter, and you know.
You know what I will say about midterms? The media has seemed really quiet about the midterms.
Is that because we're expecting a big red wave, or they're just trying to get enough analytics before they start talking about it?
No, they never wait for the analytics. I suspect the first thing. I really do, and I don't think they want to. I don't think they want to talk about it.
So, what do you think their strategy is? They just act surprised, like they did for the Trump presidency. Like, oh my God, how did we not see this coming?
Maybe,
There's
maybe.
there's no more free elections, David. If it's not the mail-in ballots or some of the other things that may or may not have occurred in
Or
previous elections historically, or just the fact that the social media giants may or may not interfere with the spread of open and free information inside a country during the very time that we need open, free information to spread quickly, readily, and to be accessible
yeah,
without restrictions.
or to go full conspiracy. Not that they would do this, because elections, of course, are free and fair, and as we know, the safest and most freest and fairest and non-controversial election of all time, and secure, was the last presidential election, where Biden got 452 million votes, I think. Is it possible? Is it possible that the media is not talking about it because they don't want to talk about polls, because all major polls show Republicans just cleaning house? Because then, amidst all of the talk about the last election cycle and all the things that could have happened, if the Republicans, who everybody in the media would have been talking about saying they're going to clean house, if the Republicans end up losing, it would seem perhaps suspicious. I'm just saying, if something were to happen and the media was on air for 2 months talking about how the Republicans...
You mean this, David?
Yeah. I'm not saying anything would happen, because, of course, our elections are always the safest when Republicans lose.
David, I kind of like that idea. And it's also, I had another...
I don't want to get any more videos removed from, YouTube, of course.
God forbid I actually be able to discuss something so I can work out a thought and maybe add some dialogue, context, and commentary to a very particular topic that other people may want to discuss. God forbid that we do that here, because we have such a large influence with all of our followers that I appreciate every week, Mondays at 7. Yeah, it's wonderful. Dave, that's actually kind of a good point, man, because, it would make the theft a lot easier if they weren't talking about it and basically allowing us to document it in real time along with them.
Right, because if you're talking about it, if you're the mainstream media, you talk about all the polls and everything that show Republicans are going to win. You give validity to the idea that they're going to win, right? It makes it seem like a sure thing. And then when they lose, because of course it was a free, fair election and they lost, and somebody brings up the idea like, hey, maybe something happened, because remember all those polls that showed that Democrats didn't stand a chance? What happened there?
So, Dave, this is where I think the algorithm takes over from polling, because now instead of the real poll now is what people get. I mean, everybody's got personalized propaganda now with the algorithm. So, like,
Mhm.
we almost have to base it on what people are seeing in their feed is like their polling, right? So, if they see a lot of pro Republican stuff, they are going to have the assumption that Republican bases are doing well. And I also say the same for the left. I know now, granted, it naturally goes to the top because we have to go to them to get the real numbers and the real numbers and information that we and all the TikTok warriors can talk about. But I don't know. I think it's worth mentioning here that, like, there's a reason we're not seeing polls, and it's more than just them admitting defeat. Maybe not, David. Maybe you're right, because if they just show the polls that Democrats are failing, then wouldn't that admit by default that the Democratic platform as a whole basically can't do anything, because they said we're going to get out of this virus, unite the country, we're going to be stronger, build back better. It's not working. It's not what they said was going to happen. It's basically all a lie, and we're spending more on everything than we were during the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic when you shut everything down.
Mhm.
We're doing worse even when we were at that time. So, with that being said, it would show by default with metrics, measurable metrics, analytics, population number, test subject sizes, batch numbers, everything else would just be all there on display for the average American to type it in on Google and show that the Democratic platform is not compatible with prosperity, which is why they have to steal fucking elections like they did 2020.
Allegedly.
Maybe they just throttled the speed at which they counted the votes in the Trump machines.
Well, I mean, we can, even without talking about some of the other things that we think happened, you can still talk about things that we know that happened. For example, social media changing the outcome of the election. Literally, it's not an opinion. Twitter took down the Hunter Biden laptop story. We know that's a
Well,
fact. We know 2 years later it's true, and we know that there's a poll that said 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5, whatever the fuck it was, Biden voters wouldn't have voted for Biden had they known. Those things are factual, and
and
that
then one
that
of the
number would
guys
have
in
changed the
charge of
election.
it all, yeah, and then one of the guys in charge of it all admitted it on Joe Rogan, the largest platform on the internet.
Yep,
And
and
then even
and
here
that
at this podcast and everybody else, we told you from the beginning that they were hiding this, that they're basically colluding with the Democratic Party so that they can win a fucking election based on lies and deceitful tactics.
Mhm.
And they did. And then when it all comes out, they censor videos about it. And I mean, I know we say this like every week now, but Hunter Biden's back in the fucking news. He was shown with pictures of handguns. He's not allowed to own handguns. And he
wait,
also
are these
said,
the ones he threw out at the dumpster, or are
I
these new
don't
ones? Did he
I
get new
seen
ones?
I got the Daily Mail photograph. I can pull up the article and we can breeze through it if you'd like, David. But it
Is
shows him. And it also talks about how he lied on a fucking forum that says he has never done drugs and owns no firearms. Like, if you go to buy a firearm, you cannot. If they were to drug test you, and you test positive, they can
yeah,
come
that's
back
lying
and
on a
take
federal
that.
document.
Yeah,
That's
it's
yeah, felony.
yeah, yeah, big time
Uh,
felony. They
yeah.
take your right of self defense for life sometimes.
Do you think he's maybe just getting some of the bonus arms that we're sending to Ukraine?
I'm
Because
sure some of
he's
them fell off a truck, David.
yeah, you do know the Bidens, of course, are friends with Zelensky. So maybe.
I'm sure he just hand delivered them.
Maybe they met at the Vogue shoot.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me they would ban Kanye. I mean, he kind of did it to himself, but you know, I don't know, man. It's just so odd. Like, what are they? What are they gearing up for next?
Yeah, I mean,
Can
of
you
course we
imagine
know.
them if there
We know
is
the
World
reason.
War III and they're banning people? You know what I mean? Like, that's what you guys are fucking worried about right now. That's what you're worried about. When the most powerful man in the world is saying there's nuclear threats to democracy and the rule of law, basically, and our way of life and the earth. I always hear all this shit about me driving cars as a danger for climate change, but you guys can go and have interballistic warfare every fucking day. I'm sure the green, that was actually something I thought about. Do you think that the government is going to stop using oil?
Of course. Yeah, they're gonna have electric tanks and electric helicopters to fly to their G20 meetings and electric.
I mean, the military's not going to stop using oil. They've been trying for a while. They're on biodiesel. Great. But all that electricity that they're building with solar farms is going to go to the government before I use it. And then all the gas is going to go to the government before I use it. I seen a Daily Mail article this week that said Americans spend more on taxes than they do housing, food, clothing, all of that.
More on taxes?
More on taxes than we do to pay for our fucking rent. For those who don't know, on average, just in income tax, you work for about a month, 30 days a year for free. And that's just state and federal income taxes.
Yeah,
that's
for people who actually pay income tax, though. So that's only half.
Well, David,
with all those people, half the country,
with all those people working, David, our income tax numbers should be through the fucking roof right now.
Here's say that, and they say, "Well, I have a job, and they take my income taxes out every week." That's no, because what happens is, for some people, just pointing this out,
your $30,000
take it out every week. Yeah, they take it out every week, and then at the end of the year, you get a big old fat check for more than you paid in. That's not paying income taxes. That's being a draw on society.
That's the opposite of income tax.
Just so we're clear, not everybody pays income tax just because it comes out of their check.
This is like California sending $1,000 inflation stimulus checks to everybody to combat inflation when it's going to create inflation. Damn it. Why is the dollar going less and less every year?
That's weird. Print more.
They're printing more to implode it to have a digital currency so that they can track every dollar and you can't buy drugs from your local drug dealer. Yeah. And that's what they're going to use. That's what they're going to use. Be like, all these drugs and hooker money. You know, all this hooker money.
It's a shame that nobody knows this because you don't have to take our word for it when we say printing many dollars all the time just makes your dollar worthless, because we've seen it, of course, in history. But for some reason, we just ignore it.
Well, David, you're forgetting about Putin and Ukraine.
No, that's right. We do need to print more money so we can give it to Ukraine, because the last thing we need is Putin using nukes.
Maybe that was the...
we're driving him closer to nukes.
Maybe that was the COVID scare of 1918, David, that devalued the Weimar Germany currency and made it so worthless that they needed millions of dollars to buy one loaf of bread. Do you know, I went and bought gum the other day, like a big, like the ones that fit in like your cup holder in your car. It was $6 for fucking bubble gum.
How many pieces?
It was like a 40 or 50 pack, like the nice. I mean, it was nice gum. I don't buy shit.
Like
I'm lower middle class.
A piece? Is that right?
For gum, dude, $6 for gum. I looked at the girl. I was like, "Is the gum really $6?" She's like, "Yeah." Like, holy fuck. And we're all just like, "Yeah, everything's more expensive." How much does bread have to get, man? I'm already there. People are just like,
it's already too much.
I just got to keep waiting.
That's because the greedy. That's greedy. That's big bread. Big bread.
Those big bread corporations.
Big carbs. Yeah.
That market big carbs. That's
big carba.
Pharma and Carba. Carba. Big Carba. Is that like a carbohydrate? Whatever. It's just silly. It's the whole thing's silly. I assume this is where I take my skirt off, David.
Yeah. You do what now?
Speaking of taking skirts off and worth a bunch of money, I saw a podcast clip this week. I don't know who it was from. It was from some TikTok my buddy sent me. But it was talking about how the baby boomer generation owned 1/7 of the world's entire wealth in assets.
That sounds like a good thing. That's what happens when you actually own things.
I know, and have retirement for 50 years and pensions, and before big politicians and everybody took all of our jobs and shipped it. It shows the fucking wealth that America has. Could you imagine if we all were like that? We all could be like that.
Sure.
Millennials could hold the other 7th of the world's of the wealth. Without a doubt, we're the largest generation ever. We should, quite frankly, we're the most educated too, right? Why aren't we acquiescing resources like our grandparents did? We have more information and more access to resources and wealth and healthcare than ever. Why aren't we doing it?
Yeah, but the boomers screwed it up for everybody, Ryan. Remember?
How they screw it up when they have a seventh of the world's wealth, David? That sounds like they did the opposite of fucking screw up.
This is the Obama administration blaming the Bush administration all over again.
David, how did they fuck up if they have a seventh of all of the world's wealth? This isn't, dude, there's more baby boomers than business owners. There's more baby boomers than 1%ers. Like those rich, that's not Jeff Bezos. They have more money than Jeff fucking Bezos and Elon Musk put together. And Warren Buffett put together. Like thousands of people, millions of Americans. It's like 7 million or 70 million Americans or something are sitting on a seventh of the world's wealth.
Yeah,
Talk about the 1%.
Think how much more they'd be worth if we didn't blow up the dollar.
Or murder them with a virus.
Well,
what happens to their money if they got no children? You think that shit just disappears? You think that just disappears? That house, that $800 million house that was paid off fucking in 1985 on a $250 salary that I always hear the left talk about. Oh, you mean when the government was the smallest it's ever been ever? Oh, that's weird. And we empower the nuclear family, the very thing that you don't empower when you empower women to go work and make more money than their husbands.
Well, yeah, see, that is a strange point you make, because it's almost like when the time period you're talking about, the boomers owning all the things, and the millennials, of course, want to own all the things. Why would, if you wanted to recreate what the boomers did, why would you do everything the exact opposite?
I don't know.
That seems like a bad strategy.
Dude, a seventh of the world. This isn't just America. The world's wealth. You know how much fucking the money's in the world? You know how crazy that sounds? You can't even fathom how much money that is. A seventh of all of world's wealth is owned by like 100 million people. But they fucked up. They're the ones that fucked everything up.
Yeah, they ruined it.
And then, like you said, why everybody should be a staunch conservative after hearing that fucking statistic. Everybody should be like, I'm going to church and not sleeping till I'm married. I'm not fucking anybody till I'm married.
Like if someone is super successful, right? And you wanted to, like, people do this now. They'll buy like these weird books from super successful people that they write.
Everything store about Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and they tell you like how to be successful, right? Because you would want to duplicate the things a successful person has done. But for some reason, all these people want to buy houses and own homes and do what the boomers used to do, but they're going to do the opposite. In this particular case, we'll do the opposite and see how it works. And it's not working, and they're not changing course. They're like, fucking boomers ruined everything.
Yeah, why would we listen to, like, I don't know, the richest people in all of human history? Like 100 million people, that's like the average baby boomer is worth more than like 99% of all people on Earth. Like, think, like every person 60 and older basically is a millionaire. Basically. God bless them. God bless America. Seriously. I'm not kidding. That's crazy. That's really, it blew me away, made me feel fortunate, everything. This is why we come on here and defend some of these ideas so hardcore, because it's like, good point, David. Good. Why would we do the opposite of what made the greatest generation? Like, as far as wealth.
Yeah. It's a strange technique.
Look at their parents too. The baddest bastards ever lived through world wars and Great Depressions and famine, and those people were raised by the people that fought through the Civil War. Like, look at what all that badassery made. That we're supposed to believe that we should shun the things that got us here.
Yeah, but again, let's do the opposite of that.
Yeah, shit tradition. Fuck tradition. It doesn't work, David.
Men need to be more openly emotional.
Yeah, and then when we do, our wives stop sleeping with us. I'm glad that I can express my feelings to my girlfriend, even though she doesn't have sex with me anymore. That's really what I want. That's why I want a girlfriend, is to not have sex with her. You know.
That reminds me. Tate was on Piers Morgan.
Oh God, wonderful! It was wonderful.
Well, did you watch it?
Not all of it. I just seen Piers Morgan. Look,
is a douche.
He has a fucking agenda. Okay, he has an agenda.
No. He very clearly said he doesn't have an agenda.
Yeah, he very clearly cannot stand anybody that has a backbone that is just not gonna like. You could tell Tate has fuck you money just by the way he is, but like he's on national television, just like it's just clear. Where do you want to go? Do you want to follow Piers Morgan's ideology or do you want to follow the Tates? I don't think it's very hard. It's on full display at a time in our culture that may never be seen again because they're going to control information from here on out like we've never even been able to think about.
If anyone's interested, don't bother watching it because Piers Morgan will literally not let him talk.
Yeah, he's a pussy.
It's horrible. He doesn't let him talk at all.
And this goes back to the psychology, David, that Andrew Tate would like say things that would resonate with the audience, that would make them self-reflect on the information that they have been told by the very people on that very program that are supposed to be interviewing Andrew Tate to make you hate them, when in fact you actually start to really like the guy and believe a lot of things he believes. And in the grand scheme of reality, all it is the same premises that got humans to the 20th century. And then we think because of science and atom bombs that we can fucking recreate the nuclear family and we can just skip over, genetics and the way habits and characteristics of personality and mental disease. Like we all know this.
Just basic biology.
We all know this here on this side, but to see it, like I said, we're not going to see it like this ever again. It's like we're living a fucking comic book. So it's pretty remarkable. 7 of the world's well-paid boomers. Good job. We already talked about Kanye and Twitter and Hunter Biden. I'm not going to beat to death, but I just want to let you know it's out there. So if you don't hear about it or if it gets buried, just let you know we told you. It's out there. Go look at it. Go get it before it's gone. Go look at the pictures before they're gone. I have them screenshot. I screenshot everything. Not that those will be there in 10 years.
They'll return midterms this November. They'll let it stew for a bit. They'll return next December if they go away.
Real Candace Owens had a post on her Instagram that had 4.7 million views at the time. And she's releasing a documentary, and it's called, I don't know what it's going to be called, but I will be hosting the Black Lives Matter funeral next week, October 12th. The wait is finally over. The documentary is dropping. The fraud will be exposed to Black America. She's just saying that it was a lie, which is probably why she was with Kanye this week.
Is she on Daily Wire now?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just I took a screenshot of that and I'm sharing this once again because I'm assuming at some point, once again, Black Lives Matter is open Marxist people. They're ran by open Marxists. They're gonna censor that post. It's not if, it's when.
We were in trouble many times with Facebook talking about Black Lives Matter. Many times.
So we're not just going to think that it's just not going to happen like that. I also seen an article that my buddy sent me, and it talked about how prisoners in the future could serve 1,000-year sentences in virtual reality or with pills, and it would trick you and your mind into thinking that you have been alive for 1,000 years and you served 1,000-year prison sentence when in reality it would only be like a few years or months. And this actually dovetails very nicely to an article I read.
That's an interesting, I don't know if I want to break that down too much because we're already an hour into the show, but
let's go.
That's an interesting philosophical debate I think that could be had. What is more damaging? Is it more damaging to leave somebody in prison? Let's assume everything works. Assume it works and it fixes people or whatever the point of prison is. I don't know. Because I'm assuming that's why they would do it, right? They're trying to change the person's mind so they can be a productive member of society. Is that the point?
I think the premise is
rotting in prison.
I think the premise is giving somebody a sentence on something that's so heinous. Like the idea of prison is we're trying to rehabilitate them. So maybe if we make them feel like they have done the sentence, maybe they won't feel guilty, maybe, or something, right? And I mean, obviously, this doesn't work. Prison sentences, they normally
prison doesn't work as rehabilitation. I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah, some people can't be rehabilitated.
For sure. Is it worse for someone to be in prison for, let's put a random number on it, 40 years, They did something real bad, double homicide or something. They're in prison for 40 years. They serve their time. They get out. They're 70 fucking years old. Is that worse, or is it worse that somebody's in for 3 years and they think it's been 1,000? Because that would really fuck with somebody's head.
What's more of a fuckery, though, that when they actually find out that they didn't serve 1,000 years like they thought, and it's actually 3 years, and they were lied to about everything, about everybody. What's worse? Can people even psychologically handle that?
We don't know. Well, maybe they do know, to be honest. We don't know. I don't know.
If our laws are based in morality, let's be honest, they are. The truth will set you free, right? It's in the Bible. So if we inherently are saying as a society that it is okay for us to lie to criminals to make them feel less guilty about the things that they did because they may have been in a mental state, psychosis, or a bad economic situation, so they had to cheat, rob, steal, and murder. If we're saying it's okay for them to do all those things because we could just basically drug them, which is right out of fucking novels, people. So if we could just put them in this artificial place and make them believe something, if the truth sets you free, that's literally the opposite. Like, I don't even know why we're posing these questions. I know why, because we've lost morality in the world. Not that I'm this moral, virtuous person here to hold everybody like fucking Jesus. I'm just saying, like...
Well, you're not a Jew.
I am white, though, David. But think about, this is beyond Pandora's box. This is so dangerous. This is why we probably... This is probably why we have prison. Like, you should go do the crime, do the time. Not cheat it because I have technology. Like, I love that just because, like, Rogan says this. Like, the smartphone, it's going to take us 1,000 years to adapt to having a smartphone. Because we grew up for millions of years without them. So now it's like we don't know. That's why people are addicted. Right? All these things. We don't even know how to handle the things we have. And we think we're just... Now, granted, this is science fiction-y. This is in the future. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. But they're writing the script now. I've read too many books about these people, and then the shit comes true to make them think. And then it also got me thinking, David, how do I know I'm not chemically altered to think that I'm 31 right now when I'm 700 or I'm 70 or I'm in a fucking machine already? I mean, this is stuff we're talking about in culture. How do I know we're not there now? When TVs are better than reality, they have a higher refresh rate than my eye can see. They can make screens 1,000 feet across. So the wall could look like it was outside, and it would be outside, right? And then what if you just spray some chemicals in the air that makes me think I'm really there? We're just meat sacks, right? I believe in the soul. We're just a sack of meat here experiencing this realm of reality. I believe that. I truly do.
I'm trying to figure out if biologically a human would know what to do if they were alive for 1,000 years. Because no human's been alive for 1,000 years, right? I mean, very rarely do people get to 1/10 of that. So, like, what, from a biological level, you're... Well, I know this.
Got a studio invader. The old man's here.
I know it's not a no-knock raid because I heard somebody knock.
Yeah, they don't serve warrants anyways.
Well, if you get caught, I'm sure you'll be in prison for 1,000 years.
Dave, you're right, though. Like, could we even mechanically, biologically render 1,000 years of existence? Probably not, right? This is, like, there's a reason we don't live 1,000 years, right? But this is why you have children, is so that your blood lives for thousands of years. Literally, it's just so... We're trying to rewrite biology with computers. It's so retarded. But very powerful thought experiment. Thanks for taking the ride, David. We spoke a few months ago, maybe. When was Forever Chemicals, David? Episode 100?
Oh, God, yeah. It was, I don't know. I don't remember the exact episode, but it was a little while ago.
Okay, Forever Chemicals have... there was something released by the FDA. No, I'm sorry. DEC that talked about how there's forever chemicals being found in
water supply or something. Was that what
in
it was?
Fish and wild game, and they're trying to tell you to not eat it and be very careful and check for Lyme disease and chronic wasting disease. which is basically mad cow disease, kind of.
Yeah, it is.
The point. They just don't want you to learn how to hunt so that you have to go to Bill Gates for all his fake fucking meat. Fuck that guy. Go eat the shit. It's not going to kill you. They're lying to you.
Yeah, but why do all that when you can just have some delicious crickets?
Because it's cheaper to hunt, David.
Than to buy crickets?
It's cheap. Probably.
Crickets are like pennies for a pound.
I don't see cricket farms, David. I see dairy farms and beef farms all over the fucking place.
Well, listen,
I don't see anybody making...
working on cricket farms, and soon he will have the largest cricket farms.
Imagine, like, yeah, it's the largest cricket farm ever. Super loud there.
They buy your dinner at PetSmart in the cricket cage.
I think if a story comes out in the future about Bill Gates like a cricket farm, I'm officially quitting the show. So we've had some wild stuff come true, but Bill Gates cricket farm would be the wildest.
Hey, and maybe they'll just look. And I'm going to tell you again, they changed our...
Can't be real, right?
They changed our fucking food. I bought blueberries last week. They were all the same size and they were massive. Like huge blueberries.
Blueberry bush. Love it.
Huge blueberries. Quick question. Back to Ukraine. How come Ukraine doesn't have an Iron Dome defense system, but Israeli does?
Because Israel is smart and Ukrainians are not. No offense.
Is that a Jewish Slavic thing, David?
Yeah. Jews are way smarter. Cricket farming. Ooh, 7 effortless steps to raise crickets. How to start a cricket farm. Apparently cricket farms are real, and I was just making up this term in my head.
Yeah, it's probably for people that have like lizards and such.
Let's take this a step further.
Go corporate cricket farming.
Bill Gates.
Just fucking type in there. Bill Gates cricket farming.
Take a look inside a cricket farm. Bill Gates secret. Oh God, no.
No, he's not making cricket
farms.
No,
I don't think so.
Come on.
No, it's just why is he buying massive cricket processing facility?
Bill Gates is buying a cricket farm processing facility, David.
No, that's not what it says. But that would be pretty wild stuff.
Probably Jeff Bezos is doing that then,
right? Oh, I don't know. Cricket farms apparently are real. So that out of the gate, I didn't even think that was a thing. You can get flavors though, salt and vinegar crickets, chocolate crickets for desserts. Those are your basic dessert crickets, Ryan.
Maybe they'll be genetically modified to taste like a s'more, so I can just fry them.
They're very high in protein, I believe.
It's like very high in protein, actually. All right, I'm done with crickets. Fuck this shit. I got a couple stories here before I get to Decembertainment. So I guess this is all Decembertainment. 2 of them are misogynistic.
Perfect.
So would you like those ones first?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, always. That's always yes. You don't have to ask that in the future.
Decembertainment this week. Misogyny.
I'm clicking the default to yes box. Do not ask again.
Duly noted for next week. Decembertainment misogyny edition. Do you want the personal story or the culture story?
Culture.
Ooh, culture. Brady.
Tom Brady?
Getting divorced.
Oh, Giselle.
This goes to show you kids, okay? You could be the greatest athlete of all time, and they still don't fucking care.
She probably doesn't want him to drink on vacation, right?
Never get rid of your side chicks, gentlemen, even when you're married. Tom Brady's worried he's going to get fucked. He's going to try to secure all his investments. He's going to lose the TP brand. Also, she's worth more than he is.
Is that a fact?
Yes. And this isn't, she owns part of Victoria's Secrets. And this isn't just...
I saw an article that kind of pisses me off knowing that because I didn't know that. I saw an article that was like...
It's basic math, David, and the gender pay gap between men and women.
And inflation. I'm sure that all
particularly in the beauty industry, women make all of the money in the beauty industry because there is actually a pay gap with men and women in the beauty industry, people.
Oh, that's weird.
They just never talk.
I saw an article. It was weird. It was about how poor Giselle gave up her modeling career in her prime to marry Tom Brady, and I'm like, I don't think any of that's true. First of all,
what's your 30 is not a prime for a female, David. Her prime was when she was sucking off Leonardo DiCaprio.
I didn't know that was a thing either. You know way more about her than I do.
I think I'm making that one up, maybe.
Oh.
She dated somebody before Brady. She's got kids with somebody else. Look that up, please. She's got some kids with somebody else. The point is, dude, they don't care. And this isn't like a women hate thing. This is just like, we as men, this is why guys like Andrew Tate are so dangerous to their system. Because guys, we just gotta stay the course, focus on ourselves, and just women are gonna come and go into our lives. It's the way they are. We can't change them. Don't matter if you're fucking Tom Brady or just some average Joe like me. They're gonna come and go, and it sucks. The things we have to deal with.
The Sun. Dating
Sun.
history. Who are her exes? Who the fuck is this guy? João Paulo Diniz is a Brazilian businessman, apparently.
Is that the son's father?
I don't know. Scott Barnhill? Oh, that guy looks weird. He was a model, apparently.
Yeah, Tom Brady might really lose
Manser? Who
his
the
ass.
fuck is this guy? Oh, Leo. Yeah, there you go. Apparently, Leo was correct.
Yeah, at what age, though? Hot and 25. Dumped her when she was like 24.
It doesn't say her age. It just says the time.
What year?
99 to 05. It couldn't have been past 25, though, because Leo doesn't do that kind of thing.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. So Tom already got bartered goods. He got a fucking he got a used car at a new car price, if you know what I mean. He was thinking he was getting a brand new Lamborghini. Little did he know, it wasn't a Lamborghini.
It's been driven off the lot several times.
It's several owners. It's not the same Lamborghini that was made at the factory. So, fuck Tom Brady. He's a retard for getting involved with her in the first place. I don't care how hot she is. You get what you deserve. Should have got a fucking prenup. I hope every guy out there learns. Can't trust women. All you can do is just deal with them as they come. You know, and this is from a guy that's got sisters and a daughter. I never lie to him. I tell them the same exact shit the way it is now. I know what they look for in guys. And if you're not fulfilling with, it doesn't matter. You could be Tom fucking Brady and she's going to leave you.
If she's got more money than him and they get divorced, why can't he take half?
What have you done for me today?
Because it's going to be about the sacrifices she endured, David.
What about the sacrifices he endured?
No, David. She sat at home with children and just watched SpongeBob SquarePants cartoons all day with billions of dollars in nannies and aides and everything made for her by private chefs. And she got driven around, and her kids were taught at the most elite private schools, rather. They were driven around by drivers and handlers and fashion designers that would buy all their clothes and pick out all that stressful things to work with a gardener and stuff, you know? And all he had to do was just go out in the field and risk his life like a modern day gladiator. And not only not get killed in the process, but put up such incredible stats that arguably nobody else could touch for maybe ever. You know, that's all he had to do. He just had to be the greatest athlete ever. That's all he had to do. You know, it's easy. Every guy can do it. That's why everybody's Tom Brady. You know? And she was just hot when she was younger. And she wore, you know, let's admit it, half the clothes that I have on and made a bunch of money from it. And then she just capitalized on it. Sorry, not sorry. Women are just beauty objects and they use that. And you could be Tom fucking Brady. And if she's not happy, she's going to leave you and take you for everything. I hope we've learned valuable lessons as men. Now, I have another lesson as a man I learned this week. I got an argument with a female.
Mm-hmm. As you do.
Yeah, but this was like personal and close. It wasn't a family member, but it was around business, basically. And all I'm going to say...
This isn't one of your future Giselles?
No. I mean, maybe. You know, I'll take her out for dinner or something. The point stands is she talked to me like I was her boyfriend. And I had to look at her when she was trying to argue with me. I told her, don't fucking talk to me like I'm your fucking boyfriend. And she just walked away. She was able to storm away, take no accountability for a whole day. And they say it's a man's world.
No,
you know?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to that story that we're not hearing.
I can't unpack it. It's too personal. It's too close to home. I got an argument with a girl I work with, and I wasn't even like talking to her. She just took some shit the wrong way, and it turned into
Ryan, I'm
like,
gonna ask a question,
uh-huh.
and I could be wrong about this.
Okay.
Somebody you work with,
Mhm.
she's just take a stab in the dark. She's not an electrician.
She is an electrician.
She is an electrician.
Yeah.
See, now I'm a misogynist because I got it wrong.
Yeah, granted, she's not the best at it. I mean, this is why here's the reason why most females aren't electricians. Their hands can't open large enough to operate the tools needed to go with a pair of pliers.
I don't know. I've seen their hands open pretty large.
The bigger it is, the wetter it gets, David. The point of it still stands that my dumb ass, like, even though I didn't, like, things got out of hand, which happens, but it's just crazy to look back and think and reflect that, like, I could lose my livelihood over somebody who just, let's be honest, was emotional. You know? And maybe I was a little emotional, like, when I got a little defensive, but still something we could all learn from. You know? We got to be careful when we're dealing with women, people. Men, especially. Young men, especially.
Do you have her phone number, Ryan?
Yeah, I do.
I think you know what you need to do.
Send her a picture of my dick.
Yep. That fixes it all.
It's not sexual harassment. I wasn't on the clock. All right, I got a story for you here. So the other day, I looked at a family member. You know, fuck it. My mom. I looked at my mom. I said, man, I miss Trump. I can't wait to buy one of his hats.
That didn't go well for you.
She looked at me. You're not wearing that hat here. I said, the fuck I'm not. She said, you're not allowed in my house with that hat on. Over a hat. I can't walk in a house because of a hat.
Right. You know damn well more than anybody that if there were internment camps, people would turn you in. People close to you. You know damn well.
I told you people this. I told you. I'm not lying that I go out here, I battle my own family on political ideologies. I die on the sword, people. I'm buying that fucking hat, and I'm wearing it to my mom's kitchen, and she's not throwing me out because I'm stronger than her. My sister was talking shit about it, too. Fuck her. I'm wearing the hat. You know what's crazy is I told her, you could come to my house and anything you wanted. I wouldn't have anything problem to say about it.
Sure.
You could be in my house with anything.
Yeah.
I can't wear a hat.
But that's a fundamental difference between people on the left and the right, Ryan.
It's fun. You're seeing the extreme now.
Fundamental difference. We want all conversation. We want everything to be out. They want it silent.
Truth will set you free, and they want to silence the truth. It's also funny because I'm literally promoting making America great. Like, don't we want this? Isn't this like a...
No, that's nationalist, Ryan. You don't want that.
Is it what's globalist, David? Just nationalism at a global scale? Isn't that what globalism is? Go fucking globe.
Go Earth.
Go Earth. Yeah. We just got to kill all the people. Go Earth.
Speaking of killing all the people, Columbus Day is Monday. Or today, because when this airs, it's today.
We should celebrate Columbus, for the record. All right. Tom Brady's divorce. All right. So, Bills game.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Outstanding.
Incredible that our second string and third string can walk starters in the NFL. I don't care if it's the Steelers or not. I don't care if they don't have a quarterback or not, because you know what everybody's going to say. Oh, he's a rookie quarterback. Blah, blah, blah. But they said during the postgame showing everything. The roster didn't change that much. You got guys with veteran talent around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody's got to make a play.
Yeah.
The Bills are just that fucking good.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out exactly how good they are.
Yeah, Casey, hopefully they rest up. You know, all that. Dawson Knox better be playing that game because we'll need him. Yeah, so it was good. Victory Monday is always awesome. Bills game on my birthday doesn't happen a lot, once every 7 years, but it's cool how it works. And it was very, very cool to see him wax ass today. I got one more Decembertainment, then I got one little thing I want to sneak in here. A little birthday surprise for you, David. My true Decembertainment this week. Slipknot. David, you know I'm Corey Taylor's number 2 biggest fan.
Uh-huh.
Number 1 fan, of course, is me as well. I'm the only Slipknot fan that goes to Slipknot concerts to outperform the lead singer, and I do every show because I'm awesome and fuck Corey Taylor, he's a bitch. And all right, all joking aside, they dropped a new album this week.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, I listened to it this week. It's very experimental in the grand scheme of Slipknot albums. It's incredible. I enjoyed it. I'm going to obviously be listening to it very much so. I'm assuming they're going to have a tour soon, so I'm sure you're going to be looking forward to that because I'm going to sound like I just deep-throated a whole team of basketball players after, being all raspy voice on the microphone. But
I'm going to take your word for that one.
Yeah, because I've done that before. The point still stands that Slipknot's my favorite band. It's called The End So Far. People who don't know, they were signed to Roadrunner Records, which also really has a lot of other metal style bands and rock and roll bands like Nickelback. But the point is Slipknot only had so many albums left, and they have now fulfilled that. So they're basically from here. They're going to be an independent label artist. They may produce with Roadrunner, but they're basically going to own their music and their masters in a way they weren't allowed to own them before. Going forward in the current age of music, that you don't necessarily need the same apparatus because we have social media. You don't need big media anymore. You can do it yourself. We're now seeing legacy artists do that. It is fucking awesome. It's my favorite band. They're fantastic. And it's just super cool to see. I like artistry. I like all kinds of art, but to see music, especially my favorite band, it's experimental. It's different. It's still like what you remember and what you enjoy about the band, but you can tell they're going somewhere cool and somewhere different. It's just always incredible. And not to mention Corey Taylor and everybody else in them band, that band Corey Taylor is a hell of an artist, man. He really is. He's super talented. And I just looking forward to seeing him tour because I never know how long they're on tour because they just like to disappear and then reappear out of nowhere. So, and my last Decembertainment, I told you this is, I think, my third birthday. I tell you guys, last 2 years that I normally...
That should be right.
I write myself something from last year and then I read it. So this year it's in a big book. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there was a couple lines that just stood out to me. Men's mental health this week, right? Was it this week or month or something? Dave, you and I were kind of talking about earlier week about mental health. And of course the females always get all the fucking attention. But there was a lot of, you sent me a thing with the pro football player about men's mental health and the things that, those silent wars, a lot of guys, I'm sure there's plenty of men out there that cry right before they go to work and you'd never know. Those guys sit in their car and they pray that they have a good day because one more bad day they might jump off the roof, and never go home, and some guys do that, right? And everybody goes through shit in their life. I turned 31 this year, and 30 is a weird year to begin with, but now that it's my first year of 30, right? I feel like I'm a new person. I'm on trial. 30 was just a trial run. It was just the experience. It's just the trial run. Now I have no blinders. I just have things to look back on, experiences to move forward with, right? But I've been through a lot of shit in the last 2 years. I didn't get to this article. I fucked up, but I'm not going to go back. But it talked about how time can be, time perception can be changed. And some people during the virus and everything have lost. That's why it seems like 2 years has only been a few months, but it was 3 years ago that the virus started, right?
Right.
This Time Warp thing. So I've been through a lot of stuff, everybody has. And I don't know, I cracked this. I kind of forgot I wrote. That's why I do it mostly is I forget the shit I say, let alone the shit I write. So let's add something. This is untitled, but I wrote this last year. Paper can hide the pain in time's passing, but not its essence. Remembering how current some wounds can feel in the present. Staying with happiness, not understanding. Hands were dealt, things happen in stages and black out, balance out. Holding the flame knowledge burns is one's burden to bear alone. To think I understood its suffering. Progression's malice is taxing, thieving your prospects. Nothing's promised. Focus is lost and accessed. The craft takes precedent. The value itself reflect. So as I journey forward in my, I don't know, I hope to make 100 at least, you know. Just I've been pretty fortunate.
Maybe.
I've been, yeah,
1,000 with the right pills.
yeah, hopefully. But I've just been very fortunate. You know, I think I live a pretty awesome life. It's complex. This podcast is just one many layers of my life, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and Dave from December 1773. We drop every Monday, 7 Eastern, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, most importantly, Free Speech Alternative. Probably the future of entertainment at this level. That's not a joke. But yeah, it's just cool to share a lot of stuff with you guys. I appreciate you guys who make it to the end. You know that the most. You're like my real warriors. And David, as always, I appreciate you, your time. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys at the premiere. I'll be there live with David as always. And I'll see you guys. And thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, bud. Go Bills.